All right, let's talk about a term you've probably heard everywhere, growth hacking. Right? It gets thrown around so much, it kind of starts to feel like a meaningless buzzword. But today, we're going to slice right through all that noise. We're turning that buzzword into a practical blueprint, something you can actually use. Let's dive in.
I mean, this is the big question, isn't it? You see one company just take off, seemingly out of nowhere, while another one, with a fantastic product, just fizzles out. So what's the real difference? Well, often, it comes down to a very specific way of thinking about growth.
So what is growth hacking really? It's not a magic trick. It's not some secret handshake. It's a methodology, a process, and it's all built on super fast, relentless experimentation. Think of it like being a scientist for your own business, testing absolutely everything, from marketing to product features, to find what works and to find it out fast.
And here's where you can really see the difference. You know, traditional marketing, it often relies on big budgets, long campaigns, a lot of gut feelings. Growth hacking is the opposite. It's lean, it's quick, and it's obsessed with data. It basically says, forget I think this will work. Let's test it and let the numbers tell us if it works.
So here's what we've got lined up. We've just touched on what growth hacking is. Next, we'll get into its main framework, the customer growth funnel. Then, we'll look at specific tools for getting new customers and for keeping the ones you have. After that, we'll talk about analytics, the brains of the operation. And we'll wrap up with the most important piece of the puzzle, the mindset.
Okay, so at the very heart of this whole thing is a simple but powerful idea, the customer growth funnel. Just think of this as your map. Every single tactic, every tool, every little experiment we're about to talk about, it all fits somewhere on this map. It's really the best way to see the entire customer journey from start to finish.
The funnel itself breaks down into a few key stages. First, you have to acquire customers. How do they find you in the first place? Then you engage them. Do they have a good first experience or do they bounce right away? And after that, you retain them. How do you turn a one-time visitor into a loyal fan? And holding it all together is that last piece, analysis. You've got to be constantly looking at your data to see where your funnel is leaking so you can patch the holes.
So let's start at the top of that funnel, acquisition. This whole stage is about answering one question. How do we get the right people to discover us? It's all about finding those clever little hacks and smart tools that can drive that first wave of users. Now, one of the holy grails of acquisition is viral marketing. And this isn't just about making a funny video that gets a million shares. No, this is about building your product or your campaign in a way that encourages your current users to bring in new users. It's about creating a growth loop that feeds itself.
So how do you actually do that? Well, there are some classic tactics you can experiment with. Contests and giveaways are amazing for creating a quick burst of energy. Refer a friend programs give people a real reason to spread the word. You can even use something like a leaderboard to tap into our natural competitive streak. The key is that each of these is a test you can run to see what gets people talking.
And the best part is, you don't have to build all this stuff from the ground up. There are tools out there, like Gleam, for instance, that make it super easy. You can spin up a contest or a rewards campaign in, like, minutes. This lets you focus on getting users, not on coding.
All right, beyond viral loops, another huge piece of the acquisition puzzle is SEO. I mean, who doesn't love free organic traffic from Google? When you show up at the top of search results, you get a constant flow of people who are already looking for what you offer. It's a long game for sure, but it's absolutely vital for sustainable growth.
A massive part of SEO is really just knowing what your competitors are up to. And this is where tools become your secret weapon. A platform like Ahrefs, for example, lets you basically become a detective. You can see exactly who is linking to your competition, which gives you a ready-made list of people to reach out to. It's all about using data to find your next move.
Okay, so you did it. You ran a viral contest, your SEO's on point, and you got a new user. That's a huge win. But your job is only half done. Now comes the next and maybe even harder challenge. You've got to convince them to stick around. And that brings us to engagement and retention.
And this is why it's so incredibly important. Just look at that number for a second. A tiny 5% bump in customer retention can almost double your revenue. That's just wild. It shows that focusing on the customers you already have is one of the most powerful things you can possibly do for growth.
So what's a great way to improve retention? Better communication. Tools like Intercom were built for this. They let you have personal, real-time chats with your users right inside your app or on your site. You know, whether you're walking someone through a new feature or just answering a question quickly, that personal touch makes people feel seen, and it's what makes them decide to stay.
Now let's talk about the engine that makes this whole funnel work: analytics. This is the brain of the entire operation. Seriously, without good data, you're just guessing. Analytics is what turns all that user activity into actual insights that you can use to get better. And that's really the whole point here. Your goal with analytics is to find the leaks in your funnel. Where are people dropping off? At what point did they get confused? Where did they lose interest? Good data lets you pinpoint the exact problem so you can focus all your energy and your experiments right where they'll make the biggest difference.
For this level of detail, you need a specific kind of tool. So something like Google Analytics is great for, say, counting page views. But a platform like Mixpanel is designed to track user actions. It lets you see exactly what people are doing in your product, what buttons they're clicking, what features they're using, and maybe most importantly, what they're ignoring. That's the kind of deep data you need to make really smart decisions.
So, we've looked at the funnel, we've looked at the tools, but here's the thing. Tools change. They're always evolving. The real secret to growth hacking, the part that will never be out of date, isn't a tool at all. It's all about your mindset. Look at this number, 92%. What do you think that stands for? It's the percentage of new ideas
That fail. That's the honest truth. The huge majority of new ideas, new features, new campaigns, they just don't work. And that's fine. The successful 8% aren't the ones who had better ideas to begin with. They're successful because they treat failure as just another piece of data. They experiment, they learn from what didn't work, and they iterate their way to something that does.
And this quote pretty much says it all. This is the core of the growth hacker mindset. Your goal isn't to be right all the time. The real secret is to test fast. You want to rule out as many bad ideas as you can, as quickly as you can. Every so-called failed experiment isn't a waste of time, it's a lesson learned. It's you getting one step closer to finding that real breakthrough.
So now you have the blueprint. You've got the funnel, you've seen some of the tools, and you know the real secret is all about that mindset of rapid testing. So the only question left, and it's the big one, is what will you test first? Thanks for tuning in.